We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.
We welcome to the Conversation with Trust, Sean Inonse, where we dissect whatever the issue may be and we have a great conversation about it. This edition is going to be really exciting because with me, I have Mr. Libros Oshoma, we're going to be dissecting democracy in Nigeria since 1999 till date. We're going to be saying the highs, the lows, where is there for improvement, where we can solidify and continue on, and all that there is since 1999 till date, being the Fourth Republic. After a lot of attempts and failed, finally for 22 years, we finally got our acts together and we've shown from time and time again that we're ready to practice democracy. So joining me today, Mr. Libros Oshoma, who is a barrister. He doesn't like to call him barrister Libros Oshoma. Good morning. Good. You're welcome, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Sir, from 1999 till date, let's just delve straight in. At what point, sir, from 1999 till date, do you think that it has been great for democracy in Nigeria? It has been maybe not there, or it has been something we can improve on. What's your assessment for 22 years we've been practicing democracy in Nigeria, sir?
Yeah. For 22 years after a period of military interregnum or intervention, as you would call it, where you had young people who were ready for governance, who were not trained in the acts of leadership, just take over leadership and do it as they like, and then reduce, leadership in Nigeria to trial and error. Until date, we have not recovered from it. And but from 1999, thank God, we have been experimenting. At some point, it was nascent, and then subsequently moved to dividends, and only God knows what it is now. But by and large, for those of us that have that we at least were old enough to understand what democracy was about, even in the period of Shagari,
right
before the Buhari's coup, we know what the military rule is vis-a-vis what democracy is, and I can say for sure that democracy, no matter the shortfall, is far better, because for the fact that you and I can even sit down here and talk about some of these issues, wasn't that possible before. Apart from that, we could determine who will govern us. Unlike a situation where somebody just sits down and decides, okay, yes, I'll take this, I'll take that, I'll take this other person, and then you really don't have input in whatever the affairs of government is. So, but today, good or bad, we could say, yes, it's not perfect, our electoral process are not perfect, but to a large extent, the politicians still comes to us.
Right.
If votes don't count, they won't come to you.
Exactly.
And we have seen a situation where the country unanimously even, voted out a sitting president. Under the military, that doesn't happen.
Right.
So that was the high point for me, when we could, for the first time in the history of the country, vote out a sitting president. And even though people had predicted at that time that the president in Nigeria was not going to see beyond that election because of all the drums of war were beaten at that time, it was almost as if we were going for war. But people came out and refused to be intimidated. People refused to be drawn out into a fight, and then they voted because they wanted something different. They voted, and then to a large extent, the vote reflected.
Right.
And so that's why also I will admonish people today that, yes, if you could do it in 2015, you can still do it again. So if you don't like Buhari, President Buhari came with high hopes.
Right.
But unfortunately, he dashed the hope and frittered away the goodwill. And so what happened in 2015, it's not going to be a tea party. We'll have to, unlike before when there were no, it was just the first time you see the Westerner aligning with the Northerners. But it can still happen if the South for the first time decides to come together and join the middle belt. You can still vote out the incumbent, the incumbent party, and have something different or something new. So it's an experiment that I think we should consistently improve on. These challenges we are facing now are bound to come because there was so much hope. But unfortunately, for those that didn't know, these hopes were dashed But for
Right.
those that knew, they knew that there was no way the hope were definitely going to be dashed. But how we receive it would also determine the extent we can go.
Let's backtrack a little bit and let's see how we got here, because a few years ago it would have been May 29th. Now today is June 12th.
Yeah.
And from the Abiola regime, right? Not Abiola regime, sorry, from the Abiola election 1993, where for reasons best known to the powers that be at that point in time, they decided to annul the election. How important and how significant, if at all, do you think that change of dates for the celebration of democracy, how significant do you think it is to the sustainability or the sustainable democracy that we're practicing 2021?
Everything is an idea, and they depend on how you build that ideology around whatever you seek. And so, for the ordinary man on the street, it is just a change of date, change
Right.
of nomenclature,
Right.
change of name. If the attitude remains, then nothing really would have changed. But if the attitude changes, then people can now begin to follow up to say, okay, yes, truly there's something about June 12th. But for me, really, I think what the current politicians, especially those in the West, who though will not or are not subscribers of the ideals of the June 12th, because the ideology behind June 12th, would just want to remember that date for remembering's sake, to show the people that they subscribe to free and fair election.
Right.
To show the people that they actually also believe in the sacrifice that was made by the participants in the June 12th. And that's why for me it is very significant that you can almost achieve an idea if you can fight it, achieve a thing if you can fight it ideologically in Nigeria. You saw how the Yorubas for a long time had been insisting and fighting this June 12th. Right from 1999, they declared June 12th a public holiday in the Southwest, and nobody, even though one of theirs was the president, he didn't recognize the date. But someday, they were able to form an alliance, and then today, they have been able to ingrain that June 12th in our national consciousness.
Right.
Good or bad, even though, like I said, they do not subscribe to the ideas of June 12th. So for the Easterners, they also can achieve the same thing in whatever way, if only they can pursue it ideologically.
Right.
Be it National Mourning Day for the Biafran heroes, be it self-determination, be it true federalism.
Right.
You can achieve it ideologically if only you would allow people talk to you also, and also listen. If only you listen to people talk and they also listen to you. Look at just recently the unity and the synergy amongst the southern governors. It created shivers down the spine of the ruling class.
Ruling class, yeah.
We saw how the Attorney General started putting the constitution upside down. For me, it was fear of the fact that these people who we had consistently believed are divided are coming together for a common purpose. So that was the same thing that the Yorubas did to achieve June 12th as a national holiday, a national democracy day. And also others can achieve that. But like I said, there are ideology behind June 12th. And until we begin to engrave those ideologies in our national consciousness, one, transparent election, two, internal democracy, politics without bitterness, that people can, when I mean politics without bitterness, not the Waziri Ibrahim politics belief, but the fact that even in the north, even in Kano, people didn't vote for Tofa behind his house.
Right.
Abiola won the election even in Kano. And the fact that you had a Muslim ticket and nobody bothered about whether they were Muslims or they were Christians. And the fact that you had a Tofa and Ugo, and people said no, we would subscribe to Abiola, already was a rich man, and had more to give. So these are the ideas of June 12th. I know the kind of politics we are playing today. Until we elevate our elections election management to that level, we will just be toying with the name only and the date without the, the lessons and the ideas of it, which is freedom really to determine, who governs you.
So recently there was the sit-at-home order by the people of indigenous people of Biafra, right? The May 30th to understandably, if you see the trajectory on how June 12 came about, around the alliances between the Yorubas and the northern elites and the northern groups to bring up Buhari again as president, and as well ensuring that, okay, you're giving us our June 12th. Do you think that there is something that the Igbos can actually benefit from that alliances, and how they can continue to ensure that their voices are heard?
Yes. I've had calls recently to advise people that, look, we need to pursue a Biafra of the mind first before the territorial Biafra. I've been insulted by some young persons who believe that they will not listen to anybody but themselves.
Right.
And because, for me, it is very key and very germane that in Nigeria, you cannot go it all alone. But unfortunately, there is no clause for secession or a referendum in the Constitution.
Yeah.
So that means there's a deadlock. So what do you do? Cardinal Arize did advise a young man in Rome. Say, look, the only way you can make changes constitutionally is to participate in politics and election. If you feel you have the numbers, if you feel that the people listen to you, you either go into alliance with political parties or you throw your hat in the ring and then ensure that your people overwhelmingly vote for you.
Right.
And then you take over state and begin to use those states as examples to say, this is how to govern.
Right.
This is what democracy should be.
Right.
And then you don't negotiate from a position of strength to say, this is what we want. Just like ACN did. They felt, look, we have a candidate, even though at the end of the day, the candidate reneged on the promises made. But they felt, look, we can go into an alliance. They didn't sit down in their house and gloat, and sitting down in their house to begin to cry over spade make. What they did was to be systemic and tactical.
Right.
For the same thing, the Southeasterners can achieve even more if only they will allow people to, at least they will listen to others, create synergies, build blocks. It is easy for you to think that, oh, the Yoruba man also wants to succeed. And so because of that, yes, it supports your idea. He might just be playing into their hands. It is easy for you to hear Asari Dokubo say he hears a pleasure. He might also want to take a pound of flesh from you for what's happened between Isaac Adakaboro and the federal government in the First Republic. So that's why you have to be tactical. These provisions are not in the Constitution. Can we find a way to engrave them in this Constitution by participating? I had thought that the last time during the Anambra election, that with the popularity that IPOP had, that they would have gone into an alliance with ABGA and say, okay, these are our terms and conditions. Otherwise, we will not vote for you. Otherwise, we would feed candidates and ensure that those candidates win the election.
Right.
But they didn't do all of that. Rather, they said there was not going to be an election. How do you now begin to take decisions that will affect your people politically when you don't even want to participate in the process? So for them to have all of this and more, you have to participate in the process. They said they don't believe in the process called Nigeria, in the entity called Nigeria. They want to go their own. It is self-determination, or true federalism is not a crime. But if you have a bull in the China shop, you don't find that bull in the China shop because it will destroy the shop. So you ease the bull out. And how can you ease the bull out if you don't want to participate in the process of helping to ease the bull out? You think you can sit down somewhere and declare war on your own land, destroy your people and kill your people. At the end of the day, you return back to status quo. So for me, what June 12 signifies is that through dialogue, you can achieve anything. Through synergy, you can achieve anything. Through understanding, they say no matter how incompatible people are, they can coexist if only they agree to agree and agree to disagree. So first and foremost, for you to agree and agree to disagree, there had to be a forum for discussion. Not, oh, we don't want to talk to anybody, we want to go. If you don't allow us, we'll start to kill, we'll overrun the country. That you can't achieve anything that way. Even the international community that you think that will listen to you or will come to your aid. They've told you in clear terms during the NSAS protest that West Africa is not their priority for now. All they are interested in is how to sell arms to both sides. And so once crisis starts, they make money, blood money from sale of arms. So that's why we have to listen. And then the privileges, which is very key, the privileges that you enjoy as a Nigerian will definitely be suspended. And all of those privileges are germane. And the Igbos are resilient. They are strong character and strong will. If you go to anywhere in this Nigeria and they are not there, I'll tell you, my brother, flee. But yes, we agree. A lot of them have been unfairly treated. All Nigerians have been unfairly treated by everybody. Leadership. So what can we as a people do? What is the significance of June 12th to all of us now? Is the fact that people were able to achieve June 12th as a national holiday by participating in the process.
Right.
So the only way you can also achieve a national holiday for the fallen heroes of the Biafran heroes by participating in the process.
Right.
UN will not come and conduct a referendum in Nigeria.
Of course not.
It is not possible.
Of course not.
UN can't do it. It is Nigeria that will conduct a referendum. And when you are not part of the process, you are a bystander, the referendum will be conducted and you might not have a say or an input. So the sit at home order, yes, a lot of people complied. Some people would also comply out of fear. But people can genuinely comply if you make it an ideological thing that they subscribe to, and people will see the need to truly participate in a process that, they all believe in. After all, we all want to celebrate our dead.
Right.
And like Wole Soyinka said, we were all casualties of the war. And so people who were alive that time remember one thing or two. War is not a tea party. During war, you don't count who is left
at all,
because it is not something that you envisage. You can start it, but you won't know where it will end.
Yeah, just like this. So,
and that's why you see, unlike the first civil war, you didn't have Boko Haram.
Right.
But today you have Boko Haram fighting in one corner. And so the moment you stretch the Nigerian military from the southeast, you are going to ease them from the northeast and give Boko Haram an opportunity,
infiltrate.
To infiltrate and create that Islamic state that they have been urging for.
Right.
And before you know it, you're going to be in crisis also. Which is why we have to, now is the time for us to listen to each other much more than before. And we can achieve anything through that process. Even people that had told us before now that true federalism or restructuring wasn't possible are also now beginning to toy with the idea to say, yes, truly, I appreciate the fact that there are crises and there's need to talk. I agree there are some levels of force that you would want to use, but you also need to, at some point, retreat your step and say, look, this is getting too much. I need to now use diplomacy. Most especially given the fact that you have a president who only understands, who has shown consistently that he believes more in a section of the country than the rest of us.
he alluded to it during the election.
Exactly, immediately after his election.
Yeah, he alluded that you don't expect him to give 75%. The attention to people who give him 75% vote and people who give him just like 5%, I said, or something.
And he has behaved true to type. And so once that happens, you now begin, a man like that, if you want to fight him in your own land, he'll be very free. He will be very, very ready to help you destroy your land. So what do? You will look for a way to synergize, to ease him out, and then have people you can begin to negotiate with who will be reasonable to say, okay, yes, these people also supported us, and so we're going to give concessions, whether they want to go or we're going to give them a better deal in the entity called Nigeria.
So we'll come back to security issues, of course, to talk about how we can go through it and how it has been handled lately. But let's also go back to the Constitution, just like you mentioned a couple of times, which is now your top. 1999, there was the time this Constitution was handed to us. Some people said it wasn't done by the consensus of the people. It was just few people who probably, that might be the truth. Do you think that this Constitution should be totally thrown away, or it could still be amended? What do you think? Or do you think it's even good enough for us to go with this Constitution? What do you think about it?
First and foremost, What we need is an attitudinal amendment. With an attitudinal amendment, no matter how flawed the provisions of the Constitution is, we will be able to navigate it.
Right.
Once we have that. Because the Constitution says that you shall appoint people who do not have questionable character into INEC, for example. But yet, you appoint party members into INEC, even though the Constitution forbids it.
Right.
And then you see your party people begin to defend it. But if we have an attitudinal amendment, once that happens, it is even your party people that will point it out to you that no, Mr. President, this is wrong.
Right.
So, in the same vein, also, if we have an attitudinal amendment, the Constitution talks about revenue sharing formula. You also sit down and say, no, I think we need to do something that will ensure equity and fairness. I agree, we need to amend the Constitution to give a sense of belonging more to the regions, to the states, and most especially to the local government. But if you like amend the Constitution without an attitudinal amendment, you're still going to have the same behavior. Do you know why? Because we're a nation in denial.
Right.
We are the problem. Those waiting to steal from government are more than those stealing. It is the Igbo man that destroys Igbo land, destroy the Igbo land. It is Yoruba people that destroy Yoruba land.
Right.
It is Hausa people and Fulani people that are stealing from their persons.
Right.
It is not the Igbo man that is doing Boko Haram in the north. In the same vein, it is not the Hausa man that is doing IPOP in the southeast.
South, yeah.
It is not the Igala man that is doing OPC in the west. So we all have our own individual problem. We need to also amend those individual behaviors so that when we amend the Constitution, our behavior will be in tandem with the spirits and letters of the Constitution. But until we do that, the Constitution says that we shall have a central policing system, for example. Nothing stops the states from enforcing or employing local vigilantes to secure the neighborhoods. But they will tell you they are not viable. Even in funds, the Constitution says that all form of corruption shall be eradicated. But yet you see a governor who takes security votes, yet he tells you I command no fly, and then he the moment he becomes a governor, he's buying properties abroad.
Right.
Even though the Constitution forbids it, and then people are hailing him and praising him. So even if you amend the Constitution, is it the Constitution that says the governor should appoint 1,000 aides without chairs and tables? Is it the Constitution that says the governor will promise to provide 200,000 jobs to youth and then he become a governor, it's no longer feasible for him to do all of that? So what we need, is it the Constitution that says people, the rest of us should not demand accountability from our governors, our local government chairman because they come from the same place with us? What we need is a change of attitude. Yes, we need to tinker with our Constitution to at least whittle down the powers of the center. At the same time, also devolve powers to the regions and the local government. Also reduce the cost of governance. But with this attitude that we have, we might just be taking from one monopoly to another monopoly. So why everybody is clamoring, let's amend the Constitution, let's amend the Constitution, let's amend the Constitution. Remember, we say we've reduced the age to run for political office from 45 to 35. But yet, how many young people of those age can run for political office, even though we have amended the Constitution to that level? So, our problem really is our attitude. I was reading an article recently, and the man said there are no classes in Nigeria. You find out that both from the leaders to the ordinary man, all they want is more money, ostentatious lifestyle, thinking that that is what will give them class in the midst of poverty. But when you are rich and everybody around you is poor, it means that you are poor, both physically and ideologically. And that's why Bill Gates can afford to donate 95% of his wealth to poor, and even come, in spite of our wealth, in spite of our constitution, still come to Africa to give aids and grants. So what we need is, first and foremost, we need to amend our constitution. It is not the constitution that says Oshomole should build a massive house in his village, even though in the midst of poverty and hunger in the village, there are no industries.
Right.
It is not the constitution that says that the House of Assembly can amend the electoral, the pension law to give a life pension to former governors who have just worked for 8 years. While pensioners who have worked for the state for 35 years
Struggle to
are
get
dying
down.
in droves
Yeah.
and waiting to collect pension. So what we need really is a change of attitude and mindset. And maybe we might just have to create a peculiar nature of a system of government that suits us. Instead of this product of copy and paste. And that will now instill hard work in all of us. And then maybe we might gradually begin to compensate hard work. This compensation of criminality that we do here.
Just to touch a little bit on the word that has been the toast of town in the political elites. Restructuring. Since 1999 till date, we're practicing a federal system of government in quotes, where the central government simply give handouts to the region or to the state. First question, do you think restructuring is something we should do? And if yes, do you think that it should, how do you think the restructuring should be? Is it states or regions? What do you think about this word called restructuring?
But it will be difficult to merge states now, even while some are still crying for more states. I think what we need really is like I said, let me be practical with what is visible. If we're talking about restructuring along regional lines, it will be difficult because nobody would want to be merged. But when you restructure along state lines, the states will voluntarily, synergize. We see Lagos and Ogun trying to create synergy. We see the southeastern states coming together now to say, look, we need to create synergy. So gradually the states will synergize and harness their common resources together. So let us first and foremost restructure along state lines and say, you know what? Let what is derivable from the state, let it belong to the state. The state can now pay taxes to the center. How you determine that tax is another thing also. Because some people will sit down and say they are not getting anything. They don't have any resources. And so they have nothing to contribute to the center. So they are waiting. They will still be waiting for that small that the center will collect and then share to some states that are weaker states.
Right.
But the bad thing would be that those states that will be lazy, gradually their people will begin to demand for good governance, to demand infrastructure from them, because when they go out or when they hear of how development is in other states, they will demand accountability and would want good governance from and want people who can actually give them good governance. Once we do that, and then you now have it, all of this naturally would give you that sense of struggle. It will no longer be everybody wanting to go to Abuja. We'll slug it out at the local government level and at the state level because we want to, us all want to participate, because the states would then be very harsh in taxes because money will no longer be coming from Abuja. So when the state tax you, you would want to ensure that you know how that money is spent.
Yeah.
Also, we will no longer allow mediocres to want to rule over us, because you know that when they get there, it would the governance will not be as you want it.
Right.
And then lastly, the issue of security. Since we know that if there is insecurity, economic activities won't thrive, the state will have no other option than to provide security to ensure that businesses and economic activities thrives, to also attract investors to their state. And monies that will be meant, people will no longer be using money meant for development to build personal houses. So I think if we start from there, it will give everybody a sense of belonging. And so maybe, just maybe, some people might decide, instead of all of us flocking into Lagos, some of us might decide to go back, to some other areas and contribute our quota. And then lastly, on this idea of where are you from, state of origin, we also need to carefully look at it, because it has destroyed us much more than, these are some of the things that keep us apart. It's not uniting us. You go to America, you carry an American passport, even though you are a Nigerian, the first thing they tell you, welcome home.
Yeah.
But you come here, they are asking you, where are you from? You are from Edo State. What local government in Edo State? What village in that local government? Oh, this is my brother. And immediately, the behavior towards that person is different from that one who is not your brother. And we see every president exhibit it. That's why the average Yoruba man would think that first and foremost, Obasanjo should look to the west than to any region, because to them he's one of us. That's why the average Ijaw man would think Jonathan should look at his people first before any other person, even though he's supposedly the president of the entire country.
Yeah.
That is why the average Fulani man will have a sense of entitlement to Buhari than any other person.
Right.
So this state of origin thing, we need to actually look at it and see all of us as Nigerians, rather than, oh, this man is an Igbo man, this man is a Yoruba man, this man is an Hausa man. Because when we live here, others don't see us like that. They see us as Africans.
Yeah.
They see us as Nigerians. And we are very proud when we go out. Whether it's an Hausa man, whether it's an Igbo man, we call ourselves brothers.
Yeah.
But the moment we come here, rather than see those things that bind us together, we begin to see those things that separate us. And so all of these are just a few areas I think that if we amend our constitution along the line, it will also help to amend our attitude that I talk about.
So quickly wrapping up, understandably, look at this situation. First, let me first speak to what you just spoke. Reminded me of Rwanda, the Tutsis and the Hutsis,
Yes.
how they no longer attribute tribe to them, and they are all Rwandese. And that is really, really apt. Looking at it, has worked wonders in Rwanda, and I think definitely it should work in Nigeria. But looking at the trajectory and where Nigeria is presently, democracy not being where we want it to be, especially with security issues, does it fear you that maybe it will become a situation of Mali in recent times, where we have military takeovers and all of those dictatorships and all of those? And second, so just answer two in one. Some people say, why don't we maybe abandon democracy for benevolent dictatorship? What do you think about these two things?
It wouldn't have been a bad idea having a benevolent dictator, but from what we see in our leadership, do we really have benevolent dictators?
That's the problem.
That's one big problem. And then because look at all the big good people who have been in politics, supposedly good people.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they turned out to be dictators. But yet, they weren't benevolent. But in their mind, they thought they were benevolent. Take some governors, for example. Look at how they enrich themselves. I don't want to mention names, but so many names come to mind.
Would have liked you to mention anyway.
Yes, so Shomole, for example. Shomole was a labor leader. He came on board and people felt, oh, look, this man. But he governed the state as if it was all about him. He will still go to ESCO meetings. I'll be the only one to talk. It still happens. Take Tinubu again, for example. You think everybody's happy with Tinubu? With the way he's running Lagos State? He believes that, oh, look, it is only him that must determine who goes there, who gets what, when, and how. And people say, oh, it's benevolent dictatorship. They've been dictators, but they've never been shown to be benevolent. Look at Buhari, for example. People said he was a born-again Democrat. But today, look at him. But some people will tell you he's benevolent. He's a good man and the rest. But he's not. He's not. As in be fair to all concerned, every Nigerian, irrespective of where you're from. The answer is no. Look at Wike in Rivers State, for example.
Right.
So, yes, this man. He's dictatorial, but is he benevolent? He makes it look as if the resources his own. He gives to whoever he wants to go to give to. So you tie a few good roads and then you think you have done the best for how many people from your state are in school? How many of them are creating wealth, from the wealth of the state? We're not talking about human capital development at all. So these are some of the challenges that we would have if we talk about this, go the line of this benevolent dictatorship. This democratic experiment that we're having as state, let us strengthen it, and it will give people the opportunity to, at every 4 years, once we can all determine who should go and who should not, let them also have this fear at the back of their mind that if I don't do well, I might be voted out. But really, with the security challenges, I'm scared that if care is not taken, the Rwanda might even be a tea party compared to what might befall us. Because like I said, we've been fighting wars in all fronts. You have some who you call Boko Haram. Then you have some who you call bandits, who says that they were brought in for political gains, for political exploration, and only for them to be abandoned, who are taking children hostage and making money from it. You have some who are militant, though have repented, but they are still there waiting in the background.
Yeah.
So any crisis you create today, and then you have the foreign nationals who want to sell arms.
Yeah.
And so any crisis you create today
Will grow beyond you.
will grow beyond you, It's like I said earlier on, it will give Boko Haram in one area opportunity to take what they want to take.
Right.
And then all those militants and criminals who also wants to wreak havoc, who want to take a pound of flesh from the system. At the end, it was we that will suffer. Some of these people might not even be here, just like we've seen leaders in Africa create crisis and run away. They might not be here because some of them have properties and their families abroad. So we are the ones that will suffer, and that's why we have to exercise some form of restraint, caution. That little caution, that little voice that says stop might just be what will save us. And I always give example with Professor Yomi Oshibanjo when he acted as acting president.
Right.
He was able to calm frayed nerves because he spoke the language of peace. He visited areas that the president ordinarily wouldn't visit.
Like Owerri.
When was it? Yes, he went to Owerri. He was in Yenegua. He was in Port Harcourt. Even had a stakeholders meeting in all of these places.
Right.
When was the last time President Muhammadu Buhari visits the eastern part of Nigeria?
Statistics actually has it that the president has visited the states since 1999.
Exactly, but he's quick to go abroad. That even his chief of army staff died just 15 minutes drive from him. He couldn't go. But if that burial were in London, the president would have gone. He would have driven from Aso Rock all the way to the airport and fly to London. So what the people actually want is give them a sense of belonging. Once we give them a sense of belonging, all of this tension will calm down. So what my advocacy would be, let the government be ready to concede. Speak the language of that will calm nerves and reduce tension. And then let the people also, if the government is not ready to concede, let them join forces and also learn to ease out the government. It is not leadership is not rocket science. It's supposed to be service. But a situation where you make leadership look as if people should serve you, you are going to have this backlash from the people. You say, look, I don't want to be slave to you. You begged me to serve you. You begged me to serve me. And so why should I be the one serving you? So let us adopt that Professor Oshibanjo's attitude of giving people a sense of belonging. Look at Nelson Mandela. When he came out of prison in South Africa, people expected him to take a pound of flesh.
On the whites.
Revenge on the whites. But he said, no. If I start like that, South Africa will suffer.
Right.
I won't forgive myself. I will be bitter. So the first thing, I will forgive those that have offended me. And then so that we all can move on.
Even the same Kenyatta of Kenya.
Yeah, exactly. So that should be it. And not this idea of wanting to kill, wanting to maim, always threatening. Because also you should understand that your style, has not been friendly. Once you understand that your style has not been friendly, learn to turn a new leaf. And from now on, the 2 years that the government still have in place, let them begin to speak the language, a language of calming nerves, that people will, rather reason more with the government than see them as anti-people.
Speaking on calming nerves, let's just spend 1 minute or two on this. Do you think that there is a problem in the president prescribing IPOB and not maybe prescribing the headsmen? Or do you even think there's a problem in prescribing at all? Like especially these two groups? The double standard, if you call it that.
That's what has been generating all of this crisis. Even, let me tell you, the tweet and the statement made by the president, ordinarily for me, I would not see anything wrong with it if the president had been using that same language for the headsmen, the bandits, and the Boko Haram.
And let's just start, the viewers of this will know the tweet you're talking about. You mean the one that he said that people who fought the war for 30 months will show this? You mean that tweet?
The language, yes, the language that they understand.
Yeah, the language they understand.
If Obama said, we don't negotiate with terrorists, we'll take the war to them.
Right.
These were strong words. So if the president had been consistent in those use of words, look, we don't negotiate with bandits. Those people that kidnapped our children, we will take the war to them. We ensure that these children are freed without paying a kobo. If you are a bandit in Nigeria, the end is coming near. We will take the war to you. We deploy our military. If the president had been consistent, rather than you beg some, you are harsh on some, you know, it shows this inconsistency. Then people won't see any problem with it. Say, well, the president had consistently protected everybody. So these are the challenges. So, and that's why talking about proscribing, when you tolerate some, even though they carry guns, others who were peaceful, you are not tolerating them. What you are telling them is that maybe you should carry gun, I might tolerate you.
Right.
So that's what is leading to all of this. But I will also still advise, caution for those young people. Like I said, you do not fight a bull in a china shop because you have the valuables to lose.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. The valuables does not belong to him. It is your land, your people that will be in crisis.
Right.
So what you do, you join forces to ease out that bull.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you begin to negotiate from a position of strength.
Thanks so much, sir, for this conversation. I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm sure viewers at home, whatever, even in the office, they definitely will enjoy this conversation that we're just having. It's a pleasure, and at this point, when I say hara, sir.
Ara. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So
you.
that was Mr. Libros Oshoma, who definitely is a barrister, a lawyer, an accomplished one like that, for that matter. So thank you so much for watching. If you watched to this end, you are the VIP, you are the MVP, you are all that. All like, subscribe, share, talk to your friends about this channel, and trust me, one of these days, I'm sure Mr. Libros will definitely honor us and come back and expect beautiful content coming your way.
Thank you.
Ciao. Adios.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.